Hello and a very good morning to our honorary guests, respected lecturers, and our wonderful audience. Welcome to the 53rd Journalism e-Colloquium. We are truly delighted to have you here with us today, especially our guests joining from local universities and international institutions. To all our guests, readers, and viewers, thank you for being part of this year's e-Colloquium. This event is proudly organized under the NewsCamp 6.0 project, carrying the theme AI and Investigative Journalism, Risks and Opportunities. It is brought to you by the final year journalism students from the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies. We would also like to extend our deepest appreciation to our sponsors, Wet World, Mata by Optometrist, Hydra Water, Pro Aircon Enterprise, and Chirica for their generous support and contribution. Your involvement has added tremendous value to this year's e-colloquium, and we are truly grateful for your commitment in uplifting our student-led initiatives. Before we begin our session, let us start with a prayer recitation by Amni Harith Badr Hisham.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami, Tuhan yang menguasai langit dan bumi. Hanya padamu sahaja kami panjangkan kesyukuran ke atas segala rahmat dan berkat-Mu. Bersempena dengan jurnalism e-Colloquium ini, kami memohon inayah dan taufik-Mu. Kurniakanlah kebahagiaan serta kesihatan jasmani dan rohani. Bukakanlah hati-hati kami, lapangkanlah dada-dada kami untuk menerima ilmu pengetahuan-Mu. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, kami memohon dengan kudrat dan iradat-Mu, berikanlah kekuatan dan ketabahan kepada kami dalam menghadapi ilmu pengetahuan-Mu. Anugerahkan kejayaan dan kecemerlangan kepada kami dalam semua ujian dan pencapaian. Ya Allah, Jazal Jalali wal Ikram, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina azaban nar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Thank you, Amni Harith, for leading the dua just now. Next, let us hear a few words from the project director of the 53rd Journalism e-Colloquium, Nick Nur Iman Wahyu.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam UiTM di hatiku. Honorable Dean, respected lecturers, distinguished panelists and fellow students. As the head of project, it is my absolute honor to welcome you all to this digital space. While we are gathered through screens today, the energy and passion for storytelling that bring us together are as real as ever. Journalism Colloquium is the culmination of our journey as final year journalism student at MESCOM UiTM Shah Alam. It is more than just a final year project, it is our transition from the classroom to the front lines of the industry. An ambitious project like this does not happen in a vacuum. It takes support, guidance, and belief from many people. First, we would like to extend our deepest appreciation to our faculty. Thank you for your continuous support, for the financial backing, and the trust that allow us to turn our ideas into reality. To our advisor, our sincere gratitude. Thank you for being our compass throughout this journey. Your guidance kept us on track, especially during moments when the deadline felt heavy and the vision felt uncertain. To our alumni, thank you for coming home to share your experiences and wisdom. You are a true reflection you aspire to become and a reminder that this journey leads to meaningful impact. And to our sponsor, we are incredibly grateful for your trust and contribution. Your support is the driving force that made this event possible. And to my fellow friends, this colloquium is for you. It is space to learn, to challenge ideas, and to prepare ourselves for the fast-paced world of media waiting for us outside these virtual walls. We put our heart into organizing this, and we hope you find today's discussion both enlightening and inspiring. So, grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's make some noise in the chat. Welcome to the 53rd Journalism Colloquium. Thank you.
Thank you to Nick Nur Iman Wahyu. Ladies and gentlemen, let us proceed with a speech from the Dean of the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, Professor Abdul Rasid bin Abdul Rahman.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam Malaysia Madani, salam UiTM di hatiku. Respected lecturers, distinguished guests, esteemed panel speakers, and most importantly, our dedicated final year journalism students. Welcome to the 53rd Journalism e-Colloquium. This colloquium is more than just an academic platform. It is meaningful milestones that celebrates your journey as journalism students. It represents a point where academic inquiry meets the realities of the newsroom, where ideas are tested, challenged, and refined through discourse. For our final year students, today marks a significant transition. You are no longer merely observers of the media landscape. You are emerging contributors to the professions, ready to shape narratives, inform the public, and uphold the values of journalism. Today, we gather to explore a highly relevant and pressing theme, which is the future of accountability, AI, immersion, and race in investigative journalism. This theme calls us to reflect on the evolving responsibilities of journalists in a rapidly changing media environment. As artificial intelligence reshapes the way news is produced and consumed, we must ask ourselves, how do we preserve accountability, credibility, and even public trust? Ladies and gentlemen, at its core, journalism remains a discipline grounded in truth-seeking, digging beneath the surface, uncovering hidden realities, and presenting stories that matter. With the rise of immersive storytelling and advanced technologies, the challenge is not only to innovate, but to do so responsibly. Whether facing the physical risks of investigative reporting or navigating the ethical complexity of AI, your mission remains unchanged: to investigate with integrity, to present facts with clarity, and to lead with honesty and courage. Proceed out to sincere appreciation to our sponsors. Your support plays a vital role in empowering our students and strengthening our commitment to producing responsible and impactful journalists. We are also deeply honored to welcome our distinguished panel of speakers. A special acknowledgement to our guests from CNN Indonesia. Thank you for sharing your international insights and enriching this platform with your expertise. To the project advisors, thank you for your continuous dedication and guidance. And to our students, congratulations once again. Today is your platform. Embrace it.
For officiating our journalism colloquium. To keep it is my honor to introduce one more moderator for today. In welcoming Ms. Shahriza Nur Shahrizal, the reporter from the Malaysian Reserve, a alumnus of UiTM. Aizad holds a bachelor in journalism and began his journey in the media industry with a strong focus on current affairs, politics, and social issues. Throughout his career, Aizad impressed portfolio organized, including news trades Malaysia, experience from national elections and political developments to leading crime reporting and investigative issues affecting society. So, contributing to international news coverage tight deadlines. It is welcoming Mr.
First of all, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all our panelists, guests, students, and members of the public. For taking the time to be part of this session, which will risks and opportunities, where we will explore how AI reshapes truth-seeking, ethics, and risk in modern investigative reporting. As AI continues to evolve, it is no longer just a supporting tool in journalism. It is actively reshaping how information is gathered, verified, and presented. This brings both exciting opportunities, but also serious ethical and credibility challenges that we will explore today. So, I would like to introduce our lovely panelists today. So, first of all, I have my former colleagues, Miss Vinothaa Salvatore. We are honored to have you with us today, Miss Vinotha, a senior journalist at Malaysiakini who specializes in investigative reporting and workers' rights issues. Her impactful journalism has earned her numerous recognitions, including the prestigious Kajai Award recently and two Malaysian MPI or Malaysian Press Institute Best Investigative Journalism Awards and regional SOPA awards. I feel like that was one of the highest recognition that we can have in our industry. And also Mr. Rudy Kurniawan, a very nice welcome to you. Mr. Ruli is known for his strong international reporting and in-depth journalism experience. And he is also chief of international correspondence at CNN Indonesia and the host of Ruli Files, an in-depth journalism program on CNN Indonesia. And he also hosts Economic with Ruli Kurniawan, a primetime economic talk show, and also the recipient of Elizabeth O'Neill Journalism Awards, which is the award represented by the Australian Indonesian Institute under the Australian government's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And last but not least, my former colleague as well. She used to be my editor, and we are honored to welcome Ms. Farah Naskarim, adjunct group editor of New Straits Times. She was also an experienced investigative journalist with strong newsroom leadership experience, two-time recipient of the prestigious Kajai Award in 2014 and 2015, and recognized for impactful investigative reports on Sungai Selangor water contamination issues, Pahang bauxite mining crisis, and she's also a recipient of Misha Pena Amas Award. So and she is also recognized for her workplace safety reporting and public interest journalism. So I would like to welcome our panelists to probably I'm not doing a great job in terms of introducing you guys. And Vino, can you please add a little something to the introduction bit? Do you want to add anything on the introduction bit?
Add something to the introduction. I think, while all of us here are journalists, apart from Ruli, of course, because he's had so much experience, but I think journalists are more used to reporting from behind the scenes and not actually standing up and giving any, speeches or forums. So for a journalist to stand in front of the camera and unless you're someone like Ruli who's used to it, then it's actually quite daunting, more daunting than going on to the ground. So I understand where you're coming from, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vino. Yeah, I feel like my short stint at Malaysiakini, I've worked with Vino, although it's just 12 months, and but I've known her, and she actually won the award when I was there, and I know how she works, and absolutely a great honor to have you here today. Really, very nice to meet you. I believe this is the first
Yeah,
time we ever met, although it's through it's through this. So, I just want to welcome you to, if you have anything to add to yourself, because
well,
probably I'm
well,
not doing
actually, this is
anything.
my honor being invited with all these amazing panelists right now. And Asti, Vino, and Ms. Nur, thank you so much for the invitations, also for you, all you guys. And I hope I can share a little bit about my work in CNN Indonesia. And I will show you some clips about that. And yeah, for the next 2 hours, we'll have a lot of fun, actually.
That's great, Ruli. Can I just address you as your? Can I just address you guys just with your name, if you guys don't mind?
Don't
All
mind.
right, all right.
Sure.
And also we have Farah, and I believe I have listed so much of her achievement, so much of her achievement today, and I think we can move on to our first session. I think we can move on to our first session. Are you guys ready for our first session today? All right, all right. So my first question would be, in one sentence, how has AI changed your newsroom personally? I feel like for the past couple of years, a lot of journalists has almost adapted the introduction of AI into the newsroom. A lot of people, actually, myself, a lot of my colleagues actually expressed how it has helped them in terms of writing, in terms of probably skeleton, to come up with a skeleton, at least. So, how does AI change your newsroom personally? We can start with Vino.
Uh, yeah, sorry. Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to UiTM for this opportunity to share my experiences on investigative journalism with such a vibrant, young audience, from Malaysia and Jakarta. I heard that there are some people who are tuning in from Jakarta as well, and beyond. But while tools are changing, your core mission, I hope you can keep in mind, that is to seek the truth. That will remain identical no matter the era that you're from. So personally, I know you've asked me to say it in one sentence, but I don't think I can put it in one sentence. So personally, AI has actually liberated me from the grunt work of journalism, like manual transcription, data logging, allowing me to spend more time with at least 80% of the glory of the story, investigating and writing. I believe not just me, but all reporters now spend less time on repetitive tasks and more time asking better questions, because you have sometimes you even have the latest input. It could be happening somewhere else at the moment, and you're there. You get tools that can update you real time. Based on but for my newsroom, AI has turned my newsroom into a faster yet slightly more paranoid newsroom, where, because now we have to, we investigate quicker, but we also have to verify everything twice. Verification is becoming, it's central to all the work that we do. Based on broader discussions among journalists, many editors now see AI less as a replacement technology and more of an augmentation technology, especially for under-resourced newsrooms. Thanks.
All right, I believe in one sentence is much more big. But I understand. I mean, that's what we do as journalists. We always trying to give our best, our best opinions, or even I mean, in our line of work, we didn't get to give our opinion as much unless you're op-ed writer or anything such. But thank you for the lovely introduction, or intro to the to our session today, Vino. Next, what about you, Ruli? What do you think? Has AI changed the newsroom in CNN Indonesia, or anything that you work with currently?
Well, first of all, I'll try my best to explain how AI changed my newsroom personally. Two sentences. For me personally, AI has shifted my role from collecting information to analyzing and verifying it. It saves hours of research time, so I can focus more on being in the field and finding the real story behind the data. Uh, Maybe that's it. Two sentences. That.
Thank you so much, Ruli. I feel like both of you have contributed so much. I think that Vino has raised an interesting point, saying that AI has turned into faster but slightly more paranoid newsroom. I understand, because probably uh, me myself, I have tried. I'm not ashamed of it. I've tried using writing some news article, trying to sort of let them process everything, and then for example, I feel like for Chat GPT, I think there have been there are when I try to write when I try to write something about Donald Trump, it says former president instead of president, just president. So those kind of things, for us journalists to just to miss, absolutely not a good not a good one. So I understand, and really, you said that you can save hours of research time. That is absolutely, and the ability of how AI can just compute everything, and just organize everything is just, it's just brilliant. And my second question is, do you see AI more as a tool newsroom? Vino, what do you think?
Okay. The usual or popular question to me from journalists is, how did you become an investigative reporter? Just bear with me here. I know a few other investigative journalists who have said the same thing. You just fall into it, which is true, because there's no one, there's no step by step as to how you become a journalist. It's just because it is who you are. It's an innate need to know more about an issue, to the who, the why, the what, the when, and how, much more deeper, and it's relentless, because the who's and the whys can keep going. So I'll give you like a hypothetical example. At a particular location, at a particular site, forest site. So the issue is who cut the forest. I mean, we know. So the question is, who deforested the area and planted durian trees on the land where orang asli are claiming is their ancestral or customary land. Then you get the contractor's name, and then who is the contractor working for, then you get the licensee's name, and then who gave the license to the licensee, and then you get the department in the state administration or the district administration, and then your investigation, mind you, at this point, you're still a very small part of the investigations. It starts to split. Then you either look at the State Department, or you keep going into, with the land and its title, its ownership, and then you come back to the State Department. Who's the director? Then you suddenly realize, wait a minute, I've seen this person somewhere else before. Within a year, he's moved out from a district to a state level. Again, this is hypothetical, yeah. Again, your investigation forks, and then you look into the State Department's process. You choose whether you do both, but your investigation is forking, and then you look at how they process the issues and the licenses, and then you also want to know whether they take into considerations EIA, whether it's important, whether the contractors have an EIA before they started work. and then you also look at the director and his speedy climb right up to the state level, then you find the reasons behind his meteoric climb into the post, and then you can even guess, where he's going to end up, where he's going to be in a year, or in his near future, probably at the top position of the state. Then you return and you start speaking to people who live there, and then what you see on the ground are very important, because sometimes regulatory bodies or even companies may have to display something on site, but not on their website or their annual reports or anything that they have to declare online, which you can get online. So going on site is actually very, very important. So unless you know how to look at an environment, you will miss a crucial piece of your investigation. And an environment as in on the ground, that the sights and sounds that you see, everything, even sometimes even smell, can make a difference in your investigation. So similarly, when you're on the ground, journalists need to know need to have enough human rights knowledge to understand and appreciate what is actually going on, and why it's, why, if something is happening, whether it's wrong or whether it's right, and, whether there are government regulations for them. And then these are all human rights attributes that one has to hone with human experiences through volunteering with NGOs and grassroots organizations or movements. The reason why I'm giving you, such an elaborate example is because this part of the job is quite possibly dying away, or being forgotten. The danger of tech-savvy students is becoming too AI reliant, or losing old school reporting instincts, like knocking on doors, reading body language, building human sources. Body language, I can tell you, has helped me so many times on the ground, just reading body language, whether you should walk away now, whether you should come back and speak to the person later when there's less people around, whether, if it's a woman, sometimes, whether they prefer to have someone else with them when they speak to you. Body language is very, very important. These are things that you can actually, you get when you're actually on the ground. And AI is not going to help you with these things. AI is definitely a teammate, however. I think it's a great, you can look at it as like an intern or a hardworking assistant that you have with you all the time, as long as you have internet, of course. Because there have been times I don't have internet, you go to places and there's internet, you're stuck. Just to make a phone call, if it's an emergency, that's when you start panicking. But AI is like a hardworking assistant at your beck and call late hours of the night, then rather than a replacement of your job, because these are things that it cannot replace. While it can replace, it can't replace human intuition, empathy, or the ability to navigate complex local social dynamics. It can, however, supercharge your productivity. It helps us level up by handling the heavy lifting of data, while we stay focused on the decisions that we have to make on the ground. Thanks. Sharon.
Thank you, Vino. Yeah, I feel like I picked something up from your response just now. I feel like, yeah, it's really important for us for journalists to actually be on the ground, cover right away, especially what you said, that reading body language is important, because sometimes I feel like AI, it's not, I don't know. I feel like in terms of reading, me myself, I would prefer any human touch or human sentiment in my reading. For example, I feel like my favorite articles usually has some sort of color to it. Like, for example, describing a feeling. It's hard to compute for the computer to compute those feelings. And for us humans, I mean, we have feelings, we have thoughts, we have dreams. So all those things, I feel like AI cannot replicate. However, that's a brilliant response from you, Vino. Thank you so much. And Ruli, what do you think? Do you see AI more as a tool, threat, or teammate?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Sharin and Fino, that as a journalist to the AI, it's gonna be different because we have that colors, we have that passions, like we have those, like how can we explain things by seeing by our eyes, like
Teknologi
smell by
kini
our
ikut
nose, right,
membantu
and
proses
taste it with
penentuan
our
hilal,
tongue.
awal Ramadan,
So
dan Idul Fitri.
when you
Namun
ask me about how
landasannya
I
tetap
see
berdasarkan
AI more
perpaduan
as a
hisab
tool, a
astronomi
threat, or
dan
a
ruqyah
teammate,
yang
I
keputusannya
see
ditetapkan
AI
melalui sidang isbat.
clearly
Sebagai
as
klarifikasi,
a
ilustrasi
smart and
visual dalam
helpful tool,
eksploratory berikut
never be a threat,
dibuat dengan
and
bantuan
certainly
kecerdasan buatan.
never a teammate that makes decisions. I think that's
Bulan
why
sabit
I describe
tipis yang
AI.
hanya sekejap hadir di langit senja,
How I
namun
describe
menentukan
it,
awal dan
it is
akhir
like
ibadah paling penting
a high
bagi umat
performance
Islam.
car. It
Ya,
helps me travel
hilal
faster and
menjadi
further,
penanda
but
pergantian
I'm
waktu
still the
dalam kalender
driver who
Hijriah.
chooses the directions,
Dari sanalah,
check the roads,
Ramadan
and
dimulai
decides when to
lewat
stop
secari
or
tanda
to turn.
alam, namun
So
syarat
that's
akan
AI
makna.
for me. Maybe for
Pengamatan
all of us as a journalist, like Fino said. And things that regarding to my experience, using AI in my programs in Ruli Files and also the economic talk show. As a journalist with a little bit experience in investigative reporting and economic analysis, I have seen how AI has transformed our work as a team. So what used to take like days together and analyze, and now it's just take like hours, even minutes. However, during my work on Ruli Files, we never trust technology blindly. Like every piece of data generated was cross-checked in the field because we believe that the main challenge by using AI, that AI can be inaccurate, bias, or manipulate facts without any context. So that's why every piece of data that we gathered, it has to be verified with the witnesses and validated for the truth, and that's really important. And similarly with the my economic talk show, the economic, AI is just a guide. The interpretations and the final decisions rest entirely on us as a team. So we have to be remember that when things go wrong, the public doesn't blame the machine. The public doesn't blame the AI. They hold us accountable because the basic accountability principle is human in the loop. Like AI outputs must be verified and validated by journalists, and this is where the true accountability lies. That's in my opinion.
Thank you so much, Rudy. Absolutely, I agree with you. I feel like I feel like a lot of probably I will not assume, but a lot of journalists I think have some sort of misconception about how they want to use AI. But I like the way how you describe. We have to sort of delegate which how they can be a teammate and how can they not be a teammate because at the end of the day we're gonna be the ones that check whether the facts, whether the structure, whether the structure of the article is right. And I feel like it's very important for us journalists to be the final gatekeeper before we actually publish the articles or stories or any such journalistic products. And we have Farah again. Hello, Farah. Um, I just for as a news editor at News Straits Times, I just have a couple of questions for you. And how has AI changed your newsroom personally? And do you see AI more as a tool, threat, or teammate?
Hi, morning everybody. It's always great to be in the presence of students. I love engaging students. They always give fresh perspectives on things. And to my esteemed in industry colleagues, great to be here with you. Okay, I actually thought for one moment that Sharin forgot about me. So okay, I see. First of all, I think our two my two other panelists have covered quite a bit on the use of AI in the newsroom, the concerns, how it has helped them. So I'm going to go on a different track, slightly a different track, because I oversee 7 titles in Media Prima, both print and TV. So newsrooms are getting linear and linear. I'm sure you guys are seeing it also from where you are. And thank God that we have AI as a critical infrastructure in our newsrooms that has allowed us to use this very limited resources that we have efficiently. All these menial tasks that journalists have been forced to do before is supported by AI. And now when we are seeing a super newsroom, you are able to put everything together to come up with the best output with shorter time, more products. I'll give you an example. So my journalists now, young journalists especially, I was from the print era, where we go for an assignment at 9 o'clock, we come back, we go have lunch first, and then, if another friend asks you to go for tea, you go for tea first, and then you start your story at 8 p.m. because you print at 1 a.m. But now journalists go out for an assignment, and they have to produce a 5-part story as the press conference is going on. And now, over the past few months, our expectations are increasing. The industry is so fluid now that I would have never thought that one journalist would have to go cover an assignment, come up with a full script that TV would extract from the script to turn it into a TV script. And then our multimedia, with the help of this journalist, will have to come up with a short video for TikTok. Another video that's to be embedded in the online story. Because just a few months ago, or maybe a year back, we realized that people's attention span doesn't go beyond reading the headlines. But if you embed a video in there, you can get at least a 3-minute lock on that story. And that matters. That's what advertisers want to see. So we're looking at AI do their job easier, but for newsrooms, which are mostly business entities, look at ways to sustain the Malaysian Media Council and the Malaysian Press Institute, where with MPI, we are looking at ways to get to hold seminars on AI development, AI use, and it changes. Just 3 months ago, the expectations of AI, what they want to learn, the kind of things that they want to learn about AI, how can AI help us better this? I want to do this, but we don't have the capacity, we don't have the know-how. So the whole industry and the supporting segments of the industry are all coming together now to ensure that our journalists, well-equipped newsrooms have what it takes to meet the demands of our audiences with the help of AI. And on the other side of managing the media industry is our Malaysian Media Council, which looks at the code of conduct in using AI tools. And this is closely guided by open laws that we are all subscribed to. So everything is interlaced and everything has to gel together. We see where we go. We are in the final leg of drawing up the code of conduct for newsroom, including the use of AI. Yeah, that's in a nutshell. Oh, to your question whether it's a threat, right? Never. How can it be a threat when it's part of us? We are like what Ruli said. We are a team, but we are the anchor of the team. Warm bodies, our journalists with years of experience, even young journalists with this very creative mind, with a new approach to journalism. They are the anchor and they are the lead. AI is somewhere in between to help them achieve their targets and their ambitions.
Thank you so much, Farah. How can I forget about you? we had our time together. How we had our time together, and I feel like you're a brilliant editor, and you have been an inspiring journalist. I agree that you share the same opinion as Ruli. I feel like yeah, with how the industry moving, as very pace focused. I feel like AI has helped a lot, especially in writing scripts. And as Ruli pointed out, we at the end of the day, we are the ones that could be the final gatekeeper on um whether to produce. And it's great that you're on MMC, or Malaysian Media Council now, that they're coming up with laws and regulations about how do we maneuver this AI into journalism. And yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to
Well,
I
sorry,
would
now
like to
I wanna add something. Like, besides that,
absolutely.
anchor are also the executive producers and in CNN Indonesia, and I also like have the obligation to manage my team of a young journalist. And like Farah said, like nowadays the young journalists, they're really engaged with this new technology, and sometimes it's kind of a bit tricky, for us in these positions, like dealing with, like young journalists nowadays, like where they really using this new technology in their daily life as a professional journalist. Because I tend to see and to find that scripts that they made is generated by AI, like, but the scripts, in my opinion, like we have like more experience on that. It's really lack of colors, like passions, like and minds on that. So that's gonna be the tricky things that we really need to concern about, like in using AI in your daily basis professional job, because AI not just your helping tools, like to get your work faster, but you have to add more about yourself in that, like scripts or package that you made.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I agree. I agree. I feel like when it comes to script writing or writing articles, we need a little bit of human touch or color, for example. And it's probably important to get the prompts right. Probably, it's important for us journalists, if we want to use AI. We have to some sort of become responsible in how we use it as well, because it's important to get the right prompts. We to take notes ourselves, not just rely on, for example, fresh release. Said also the body language also plays an important role, especially when it comes to press conferences, because we can see it ourselves as a journalist, how they act, how they sort of like pronounce, or probably they're nervous about coming to the press conference in the first place. So it's great. It's great insight from you guys. I mean, we're only like what 10 minutes in, and this is what we have now. So moving on, Vino. I would like to start with Vino, and in your investigations, where exactly can AI help before, during, or after reporting?
I think AI is a force multiplier at every stage of the investigation process. Actually, like Farah, I started reporting at an era when there was no internet, there was no mobile phones, and like she said, you go for an assignment, you come back, you maybe do one story a day, and that's it. One new story a day, and that's it. And we've got two. At that time, there were two deadlines for print, and yeah, it was a very different era. Before you go for your assignment, you go to the library, you pull out a file on whatever that you're or going for a press conference, whatever the issue is, you pull out a file, you read. You look at past articles, like, it's so bizarre from that to here. When you leave the house, you make sure you have a pen, or at least 2 pens, enough coins, and your notebook. Everything else is, that was, here now, you have your phone, or maybe even 2 phones for, different purposes. It's a different life. So when you're before, it helps. AI helps now tremendously. It's changed even after internet, with the arrival of AI. First, when you're an investigative journalist, you have an issue, you have to pitch it. You have to pitch to your editor, and then and for a small newsroom like ours, you need a grant to do the work. So you need to pitch that first as well. So before even going to the field, you need to prove your hypothesis, and that that's a lot of desk research, and more often the smaller newsroom, So the bulk of the research is, it takes some time, but with AI, it's incredible. You can just put a lot of stuff in Notebook LM and then start asking some questions, and then to see, to prove your, to go into your hypothesis, and then, look at, certain people or certain issues, or, what, I mean, it's just, it's so much more easier. And with that, you just have to do maybe one field work and then come back, and you can start writing a grant application for that. Mapping, you can map your timelines, identifying key players. It's so much easier to identify key players now as well. Analyzing previous coverage, translating foreign documents, like, because Malaysia, unlike Indonesia, doesn't have FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, although we're working towards that now. I don't know how much it's going to actually help us. I hope it's a very strong piece of legislation, because thanks to FOIA in Indonesia, I can get bilateral or MOU signed between Indonesia and Malaysia from my Indonesian friends. NGOs that, people from the NGO circle that I know there, they can give me from different countries, like Nepal, Bangladesh. You can get documents, but you can't get them here. So, and pieces of legislation that actually, because sometimes when you're investigating a certain issue, we tend to just stick to just, our country. We tend to just report on what's happening here and look at our legislation, but you don't understand, when we sign a agreement with another country, they are also changing their laws, and it's in a different language. So translating that becomes so much easier. You don't have to pay anyone to translate it. Maybe you can get someone to check and see, have I got it right? Do I understand this right? That, people, in the field, in these, certain circles, they can help you. Translating foreign documents, very important. Summarizing annual reports is another huge, because a lot of stuff is actually hidden in annual reports. Finding anomalies in data sets, all this, can help you. Imagine, if you're covering a corruption case, like everything that we cover, and that's some form of corruption behind it. So it's, whether you want to take that step and go look at the corruption as well, or you just want to talk about, the issue as well, as in itself is a different thing, illegal logging in Sarawak, so or they are regional or even global. It's, sometimes, and AI really helps us, and getting in touch, working with cross-border, working with, other journalists from different countries also helps opening up and trying to do cross-border collaboration on reporting, in not only on just corruption cases, but a lot of other issues as well. AI can quickly help connect names, companies, shell entities, geographic patterns. That's that's just looking at before. And then when you go on the ground, again, you have some people who don't speak Bahasa. They can understand, but they don't speak Bahasa Malaysia very well. They speak only, their mother tongue, and you're interviewing them. So that on the spot translation is super useful. Taking pictures on site to identify certain aspects when you're investigating. Sometimes it feels like a huge miracle help tool when, for example, when you're surrounded by a mob of people who don't want you to be there. So when you start identifying where you are, when you're in the field, you could be moving around a lot, but sometimes you tend to go into high risk areas. What are high risk areas? Areas where, one example of a high risk area is where the people around there don't want journalists to be snooping around. The minute they know that that you're a journalist, you're in big trouble. So when you're surrounded by a mob, thankfully we knew that that it was that the location that we were at is part of a central spine forest. So, we could explain that we were, wildlife conservationists. We are looking at, we are observing the wildlife, and just, it took at least an hour of expert negotiation by the person who I was with. But it was very interesting. It was such a, So again, the reason why we could do the stuff like that, we're all here. So these are the things that when you're on the ground, take pictures, try and find out what is unique about the location. And this helps. AI helps tremendously. This is when it actually becomes a field assistance. Again, in the field, when you're covering floods, haze, even protests, AI is an amazing tool. After reporting, it becomes more of a tool where you can get stories out, like background for the stories. You can test your headlines. You can gauge your audience engagement. You can look at subtitle generation, multilingual publication. Sometimes, depending on the issue, I tend to think in Bahasa Malaysia first because I know the audience. So I tend to try and draft it in Bahasa Malaysia, although I write in English. So I ask a lot of questions. I go into AI and ask, if what does it mean to say this, and what does it mean to say that, and then I move to English and I draft the story in English. So that again, knowing your audience and it's that part of it really helps. But it's also important to know, like what Ruli and Farah was saying just now, it's an editorial assistant. It assists you in editorial work, but doesn't replace editorial judgment, because that you're still, that person who is behind the wheel. One should never lose sight of the ethical decisions that you make. For example, like you can generate an image or a photograph, but if you want to generate an image of a person and use a dialogue that you have to that face that is generated, that becomes highly questionable, because you're putting a face to some AI generated face to a real life situation. So so that ethical judgment still, it still goes back to you in that.
Vinothaa has covered everything that you need to know about how to use AI in the newsroom, especially in investigative journalism. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.
Especially on the ground, I feel like that was a great insight. She's doing that thing here.
It's
I
wonderful,
mean,
Vinothaa.
it's making my work easier. I feel like yeah, it's interesting how you mentioned note taking, probably organizing notes, research, and you mentioned as well how you want to be snooping around, especially at places that might expose you to danger. And it's interesting how you try to draft it in Bahasa Melayu first, and then knowing your audience, and then and then just sort of like write the final article in English. It's very exciting. Here I have my second question, and how do you deal with AI generated content, especially deepfake, fake data? How do you identify those things in your investigations? Nowadays, I feel like AI has developed into um, and their works, or they're produced much more unrecognizable compared to the real life ones. As we can compare at the first, I think the most obvious is they have this Will Smith eating spaghetti as in 2020. You know right away it's AI slop. By the way, slop has been the number one Merriam-Webster word last year, and and we can probably know. But in 2026, um, all these AI slops you call, it's not slops anymore. It's almost unrecognizable. So how do you distinct between deep fakes and fake data in your investigations? I'm sure you have encountered a lot of this, Vino.
Okay. I thought you wanted to make your round first before you come back to me on the next question.
There's two questions for each of you. Yeah.
Okay. So how do I deal with AI generated content? I think nowadays everything you come across is shocking, but it's real. It's like, just when you think that it cannot happen, it does. So a lot of things that are happening around us that is shocking, but it likely but the fake part of it, it likely started with those viral catastrophic videos that left us questioning, what we're looking at. And that's the strange world of journalists that we work in now. I think many of us first realized it during the disasters and the war videos that were coming out, manipulated flood videos, fake earthquake videos, recycled protests, the dogs, the pets saving human life. That is amazing. I mean, it's amazing how they do it. It looks very, very real. Recycled protest clips, AI generated speeches, cloned voices. Now we're entering an era where seeing is no longer believing. And the role of journalists as putting out facts is becoming more and more important. In Malaysiakini, our readers always fall back on our reporting because it's fact checked. I'm sure everybody else does that, but that's one of the reasons. I mean, we engage with our subscribers, and that's like the main reason why they keep coming back to us. So deepfakes are no longer just a technology issue. They're becoming a democracy issue as well. When, like, for example, during the elections in Indonesia, Malaysia, manipulated clips spread so quickly through TikTok, WhatsApp, Telegram, Facebook. So groups in these groups, before fact checkers can even respond, that means journalists have to become more forensic investigators. So for that, you've got deepware scanners for checking videos, in-bit verification plugins, Hive moderation, Google Reserve image search. I think Google's actually put out quite a number of tools for journalists to use. Amnesty YouTube data viewer, that's also another really interesting tool. Students should when you're looking at deep fake or so I think what we need to actually learn now is like students should learn simple verification habits before they come into I think this needs to be a constant practice, like for example checking shadows and reflections, analyzing lip syncing, check weather and geography, whether it gels, reverse image keyframes, those are very important. Compare timestamps across platforms, verify with human and on the ground. One important lesson for global AI discussion is that it's good at sounding convincing even when it is wrong. So that's why journalism becomes more valuable, not less valuable. So our role is still, our role is still valuable to navigate this synthetic reality. You must use, what's wrong and filter the system. I think I don't know whether I answered your question.
I think as a journalist, we have to verify everything. For example, we check all these press statements coming out of ministries, saying, "Oh, the prime minister just resigned," and then all of a sudden everyone panicked and everyone just flashed and stuff like that. It can create chaos in terms of how journalists respond, and it's important for us to verify all these information that we have. Um, and videos and it's interesting that you mentioned that we almost have to nowadays have this forensic skills to detect whether it's AI, whether it's real, and then checking through multiple source of multiple source of if information in the AI
speed
era.
is of the essence. If you are, because we have competitors around us, right? We are your competitor, you are our competitor. If you are 5 seconds behind your, it's as simple as that. Hence why you see this first breaking news line and then followed by another 4 lines, and one story is developed over the next 2 hours, where you have to keep the engagement going, upload a video that accompanies that story with, the updated story bit that you see in the headline. But at the end of the day, when you have the luxury of time in doing stories which are not coming from press conferences, because the minute you put up on your website, social media will take your story and run with it. Okay, that is one area that the Media Council is looking at, how our IP is being torn apart. Everybody's recycling our stories. But when you have the luxury of time, like what Vinothaa said, you are able, our trained journalists are able to go to the ground and come up with stories that can make a difference, that can change your life, that allows you to look at something that is so mundane and you thought that it didn't matter to you, but after the kind of story that Vinothaa does, for instance, it matters to you. It affects your daily lives. So this is what but we're not seeing a lot of it in the industry, in the Malaysian media industry, like Vinothaa, because this kind of stories, it takes time. Thank God with AI we are able to shorten the production period to maybe 2/3, but it cannot go beyond that because of the accompanying processes that has to come into play, the verification, knowing the guardrails that you have to observe. So to me, journalists have to, sometimes it's good to go back to basics. I always remind my journalists, you go back to basics, you have to understand the demands. For instance, you can't go to AI and ask, what is a possible Kajai SOPA award-winning story that I can work on? It's never going to happen. Going back to basics, meaning you have to work your contacts. You have, the minute you leave the house, you wear the hat of a journalist, open your eyes, see what's wrong with a certain system, go back to the office, do your research, which is going to take, days, if not weeks, if not months, to come up with a frame of story that you have to be able to envision how the story is going to be at the end. This AI cannot do. It has to be your trained mind as a journalist. But it helps in a way. For instance, right? You want to see talking about the government taking away subsidies for T20, right? Or how the government is clamping down on, you could say, total freedom of that we are all grappling with. You can look up, for your background, what was said about freedom of speech before. A lot of journalists, we have forgotten that, there's actually this bill of guarantee under MSC that was never removed. So how does that, when was the change process? So you as a journalist, you're able to question, because you have to remember, whatever you glean from AI, it came from us. Right? Whatever you put out there, it came from us. So we are the first source of information that others are gleaning from AI. So our role will always remain critical to this industry, because we are bringing everything up to the surface. But knowledge is very important. We cannot just look at surface knowledge. Okay, the minister said this, so this is what we write. We are not trained to be stenographers. We're trained to be journalists who question. Isaac, you still go to the ground, right? At every press conference, you listen to the questions that's being asked. So this is going back to basics. Are we asking the hard questions before we go into AI? I know that a lot of journalists now, many have failed to look at AI as a tool. Okay, AI handle this, I'm going to handle the more difficult tasks. They're not doing that. It's just, okay, let's translate this speech to text. Give me a story, Berita Harian style. Everything is given to you and we can see it. And if you can see it, the story has no soul, how is that going to impact your readers? There's no deep questions being asked in the story. This is what you're presenting to your audience. And they are going to think, okay, I saw this in my Instagram, in my Facebook, in my Twitter, and the comments in there from the netizens are deeper. Right? They're taking away our job. Are we going to allow that to happen? We cannot sustain if that keeps happening for the next 5 years, because we are not asking the hard question. I keep reminding my reporters, you have this huge license. A CEO of a multinational corporation cannot call up Hamza, the second finance minister, T20 is how much a T20 is supposed to be, earning to be labeled as top 20 of the country. Where's the policy? But our journalist who's been in the industry for 3 months, as long as, he carries that penerangan card, can call up the minister to ask these questions. But are we asking? So yes, AI tool helps you, but it's just in the back end operations of your role as a journalist. This front end, when you go out, it goes back to journalism 101, which we are beginning to forget. When Vinothaa, even really looks young, but I'm assuming that he had experience going through all newspapers to see what was the last thing said on a certain policy. So because we read so we understand issues deeply. We journalists, dear students, are jacks of all trades. We can break down complex rocket science into layman language. We can analyze the political situation in the country, what's going to happen in the next general election, who's going to win. We can do all this. And what we say matter because we are trained as journalists, we have the credibility, and people still come back to us. I give you an example. I think there was a Reuters, the latest Reuters report suggesting that because of the hallucinations in social media, because their source is from AI, people are coming back to mainstream media. By the way, the definition of mainstream media is different from 10 years ago. Right? Malaysiakini is mainstream media, FMT is mainstream media, the legacy media remains mainstream media. They come back to us for verification. To your question, just now, Vinothaa touched on this. We don't worry so much about fake images, fake footage, because we employ hundreds of people to be on the ground. What you are seeing in social media are articles that we produce and manipulated to get the hits that they need. And they allow these comments, some comments don't even make sense, but it generates more comments. Fake comments generate more comments, and that's the engagement that they need. So yes, we have tried at the output level to refrain from using AI. People still want to see warm bodies because the trust is associated with that. You will never see our prime time news readers or news readers for any time is replaced by AI. We had, I think, about 5 years ago that we had this DJ, Media Prima had this AI DJ Anna, very popular because it was at that time and everybody is like, oh, this is AI. So this is what AI looks like. But now things are different. With AI, everything is so fluid. You put a newscaster, AI newscaster on Bulletin Utama, people will leave Bulletin Utama. Because as journalists, because they know that you are a journalist talking to me, even on social media, even if bh.com.my, Star TV, puts a journalist there, they know that this journalist is talking to me based on the ethics that he subscribed to, the laws that he could be cited under if he lies. So that's why the trust is there. You don't have to talk about it. It's understood. So we still have that guarantee. We still have that safety net for the industry, no matter the challenges that come our way, for as long as, again, we continue to subscribe to the basics of journalism.
I agree, Farah. I feel like that's a whole another subject on how we're gonna be replaced by AI. Absolutely, I've seen newscasters or AI characters taking over our journalistic for example yes, newscasters and probably news readers as well. And I've seen it across multiple platforms. And Rudy, we have a couple minutes for you. Probably one question for you. Working with CNN standards, how does investigative journalism in Indonesia compare to global practices, particularly in your establishment? We have a couple minutes. Really, what do you think?
Oh yeah,
Especially involving.
thank you, Sarif. I just want to emphasize more about what Fino and Farah said earlier, that in this AI-generated world nowadays, our roles as a mainstream media journalist is really, really critical and very important because back again, like Farah said, that in the end, people, our viewers, like will tend to see us, like as their basic knowledge about in defining, is this AI generated or this is a really true journalism materials. And that's really important because as a journalist, we have these obligations, we have this sincerity, we have this passion, like to tell our audience, our viewers, like people uh, out there, this is the truth about this kind of issues that you are debating about, because we can come to the experts and professionals to explain about these kind of things, and we can bring those people, to our studios to explain more about this, like viral issues that's happening right now. And that's really the key role we as a journalist nowadays in this AI world of like ambience. And talking about how about CNN Indonesia in terms of investigative, I would say that in CNN Indonesia, we haven't gotten any like legal AI framework kind of things. Yeah, but in terms of AI, we use it individually to make our job easier, like Farah and Fino said earlier about like making things faster and further. Uh, Before we like, I was already grown like years ago. Uh, we do just like writing, like to the libraries, like browsing Google's kind of things, and it took a lot of times and not nowadays. And for the investigative, oh actually how this shifting our productions, our newsroom in terms of using AI in media mainstream. I have a short videos about that, like project from CNN. We can watch it first.
Teknologi kini ikut membantu proses penentuan hilal awal Ramadan dan Idul Fitri. Namun landasannya tetap berdasarkan perpaduan hisab astronomi dan rukyat yang keputusannya ditetapkan melalui sidang isbat. Sebagai klarifikasi, ilustrasi visual dalam eksplanatory berikut dibuat dengan bantuan kecerdasan buatan.
No audio.
Yeah, no audio.
Bulan sabit tipis yang hanya sekejap hadir di langit senja, namun menentukan awal dan akhir ibadah paling penting bagi umat Islam.
Well, actually, this
Ya,
story is
hilal
about
menjadi
how
penanda
can we
pergantian
describe
waktu dalam
hilal
kalender
in the
Hijriah.
early Ramadan.
Dari
Like,
sanalah,
and we are using
Ramadan dimulai
as a
lewat secari
AI
alam,
video,
namun syarat akan makna.
videos as a visual,
Pengamatan
like
hilal
to
dilakukan
capture
melalui dua
and to
cara.
explain.
Hisab astronomis yang bertumpu pada perhitungan sains, dan rukyat, yakni pengamatan langsung dengan mata manusia atau perangkat optik. Perbedaan metode inilah yang kerap melahirkan perbedaan penetapan awal Ramadan dan Idul Fitri di berbagai wilayah. Berdasarkan kriteria Menteri Agama Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia dan Singapura atau MABIMS, syarat ketinggian hilal harus mencapai 3 derajat di atas horizon saat matahari terbenam, dengan sudut elongasi 6,4 derajat antara posisi bulan dan matahari. Parameter ini dirancang agar bulan sabit cukup jelas secara astronomis dan memungkinkan dilihat alat bantu optik. Namun pada akhirnya, keputusan sidang isbat menjadi titik temu di mana sains, tradisi, dan keyakinan membaur demi menentukan waktu ibadah lewat kepastian dan kehati-hatian.
Uni Emirat Arab memperlihatkan cara baru dalam memaknai teknologi. Sejak 2025, untuk pertama kalinya, pemerintah Uni Emirat Arab mengerahkan drone berbasis AI untuk mengamati hilal Syawal dan Ramadan.
Drone ini diterbangkan ratusan meter di atas permukaan bumi, lengkap dengan kamera presisi tinggi dan data astronomi, membantu pengamatan yang tak terjangkau mata manusia. Sementara di Lampung, dosen Institut Teknologi Sumatera merancang teleskop robotik berbasis AI yang mampu mengidentifikasi hilal secara otomatis melalui analisis citra. Teknologi ini dirancang untuk memperkuat akurasi dan objektivitas pengamatan, bukan menggantikan keputusan keagamaan.
And for the investigations in different ways, because for efficiency, like Farah and Fino said earlier, this is mostly talking about efficiency, we shorten the long interviews, summarizing press release, and translating documents, and scanning like hundreds of pages of regulations. And with AI, we can make it like the content even faster without sacrificing the quality. And for the investigations that you asked before, Sharif, especially in my program in Ruli Files, AI is used much more careful. We use it just to map connections between data points and find patterns, like in financial reports for my economic talk show, or trace digital footprints that are impossible to see manually. However, we as a team, we have a very strict rule. Hypothesis, never conclusions, because it helps us to dig deeper, but the real investigations, just checking facts, we have to meeting the sources, we have to verifying the evidence, is always done by us as a journalist in the field, in the grounds. That's really the key things that, using AI in our investigative.
Really, could I, Shamin, that video that I just saw,
yeah.
the bit where you had a press conference, right?
That's also AI generated. But we have the real footage, like the reporters come to the, the press conference, but we just really want to make this, package, the video package is full on AI. So that's why we capture the real situations into an AI generated
I guess,
videos.
Shamin,
Yeah.
For content like that for AI, but for actual news happenings, you have to have the real thing. But that was a perfect example of good use for content production using AI.
Yes. That's for the like magazine package, kind of things, videos. So we can use that and as an experience, like how to make AI generated videos, like in our newsroom. But instead, if we are using the real stories, like this happening updated right now, we still definitely for sure, using the real one.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, guys, for the first session. I feel like when I saw your videos, the AI generated one, it's almost for us journalists when we go to on the ground, especially nowadays, all the ministries sort of they use the shortcuts. So they always try to use AI in terms of their video promote their campaigns, and it's almost recognizable in terms of how the transitions works and the characters, how they smile. It's
One thing for sure, we have to put this is the AI generated videos, watermarks on that, because that's really important, to differentiate between the real situations and the AI generated video.
When I was on the ground, almost all videographers and photographers give a side eye, like to us journalists. They sort of recognize, it's AI again. We're gonna be replaced. Sort of side eye that I get every time I walk around. But yeah, it's been
that's really true. I mean, even though this CNN International, CNN Global, they already have this AI framework kind of things, but we haven't developed that in Indonesia, because we believe that our viewers, our audience, they tend to see the real one instead of the AI generated videos, and that's really important for us. Not to adapt drastically to the technology nowadays, but we really have to know our audience, what they want and what can we deliver.
All right. It has been a healthy session. Just to conclude everything, I feel like Vino herself has explained about how it helps in terms of investigative reporting, and Farah as well. to distinct, and she said that speed, accuracy, credibility all has an important role to play in terms of in the AI era. And you yourself like and shown in a great video, a great example on how AI can be used in journalism nowadays. So yeah, that's the end of our first session today, and we're gonna have a 5 minute break. Thank you everyone for joining. So we're gonna stay tuned, and we're gonna be back in 5 minutes.
Mata Optometris menyediakan servis-servis pemeriksaan mata sama seperti di hospital besar. Keistimewaan praktis kami adalah memiliki optometris bertauliah dengan pengalaman terkumpul melebihi 20 tahun yang mampu memberikan rawatan dan pemeriksaan mata secara terperinci dengan harga yang berpatutan. Pelanggan boleh datang terus ke praktis kami di Mata Optometris di Puncak Bestari atau boleh juga menghubungi kami seperti yang tertera.
Hello, welcome back to e-Colloquium session, UiTM e-Colloquium. It's with me again, Shari Naizat, your moderator for today, and Farah, Ruli, and Avino as our panelists today. Welcome back. We're going to start our second session today. We had a great first session. We had a first great session just now where everyone has contributed pretty much very interesting insight on how they deal with AI in their very own newsroom, with Farah at NST and Vino at Malaysiakini and Ruli at CNN Indonesia. So we're going to start our second session. So my first question would be for Vino again. You have been my favorite. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to play favoritism today. But Vino, I'm going to start with you. Can AI improve data journalism and pattern detection in investigations?
Absolutely. But I just want to, before we move on, I just want to say that what Ruli showed just now, that video that he screened just now, was a perfect example of how, we still do the behind the scenes. We still get all the information, mapping it out, even structuring it sometimes. But explainer videos like that is so necessary for in-depth investigations that we do, because a lot of in-depth investigations tend to is very convoluted sometimes. So it's very important to come up with little investigative explainer videos to explain gists of what you have investigated for a better understanding. Because what we tend to find is you put out a story today and next day others are doing explainers based on what you have put out. Yeah, but pattern detection, large scale investigations, for example, like the Pulitzer winning missing in Chicago, used AI to comb through thousands of police records to find trends that human eyes would have missed. So like data analysis, even if you have zero knowledge on Excel, thanks to some AI tools nowadays, you can just turn out, some Excel tools, which is amazing, can help you perform functional data analysis by simply taking, take your data set. Visual evidence, like in conflict zones, AI has been used to analyze satellite imagery to count bomb craters. There's even one where they had mapped out mass graves that were being moved. So these are all very crucial AI tools, and there's a lot of human value that goes behind this investigation. But now, we're not bogged down by the bulk of the work that we have to do, which will which used to take most of our time, drain our energy. By the time we're done, we're just so lost in numbers and stats and data that we just now you have to sit down and just so instead of having to read 200 pages it's amazing how, that you can put 5 files and ask them to ask an AI tool to gauge the trend. So that's the most exciting part of investigative journalism, because sometimes with the help of AI, you tend to get the work that you really enjoy doing becomes very addictive. So you literally lose track of time, because you've got this fantastic AI assistant, and then you're able to do this, and then as you go on and on, it just gets more exciting. So that other things that you can miss, like unusual procurement trends, that's huge, for us. Suspicious company networks and shell companies, land ownership overlaps, that happens a lot. Environmental destruction patterns, again. Election spending anomalies, trafficking routes, and even, geographical aspects of certain. It's amazing. I just asked, where does this particular river start? I've already got the topography. I've gone to the department, got their topography and all that, and I'm still looking, but I'm confused, because it's all, it's so much. And yeah, so that was a huge tip. So I knew where to start from. So that took away, like, a lot of time that I would have spent trying to figure out this whole topography map that I have, moving it here, moving it there. Maybe my screen's not large enough, print it out, look at it again. But yeah, so this is how, the thousands of procurement records that we can look at, in one go, leaked PDFs that we get, court judgments. Oh, court judgments is another, it's a special mention by itself, parliamentary Hansards. Yeah, so the technology can surface connections in minutes that used to take hours, maybe days, like just now say Farah was saying, months, maybe even, so tools can help you move things faster. Yeah, I think
Yeah, that's
yeah,
great. That's
having
great.
said that, but human reporting still matters. The interviews, you still, it's not that you've asked the question and you've got answers and you stop thinking, because you're actually, you have to actually think to ask the right questions and to get what you want. And your mind is actually, you're thinking in a very magnified way with AI. That's how I feel, with AI, that's like, it's like limitless, So it's like I said, it's a fantastic personal assistant that you can just, what about this? Or what about that? And then, and you're actually able to think on your own, and then bring whatever you get and put it back and try and figure it out on your own. So it's not that it's replaced you, it's really enhanced your work. Sharon?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I feel like you mentioned it the first time. I feel like you mentioned it the first time. It's almost like you're having a hardworking assistant, a very, very hardworking assistant, and it's, having assistants sometimes, if they're too good, sometimes they can replace you. All those thoughts coming in. It's just sometimes those things kind of worries you. But very interesting that you mentioned that how you manage to prompts to enter all these prompts and recognize patterns, for example topography and stuff like that. It's just Mike, can you please elaborate a bit on how you do that, and what kind of AI platform that you use to do that?
I can't remember now which platform. The thing is, I don't use one platform, just solely one platform. So if I have a question, I ask a few platforms and then check and see what are the answers. And then from there, I work on it. You don't rely solely on just one, because you can see a vast difference how ChatGPT Gemini and Cloud works, you get, similar, but sometimes a big difference in your answers. I can't remember which one, but I got coordinates, and that was very, very helpful. I think not not all of them that I asked gave me coordinates. Some of them gave me wrong coordinates. So you go back and look at it on the map, and then but what helped was when I looked at it on the topography map that I had and the Google Earth map, I was able to go on the ground and verify it. So it made it so much easier, because I would not have even thought of going to that location, because I wouldn't even have thought that that river started at that point, because it was just totally somewhere else. So that was very helpful. But having said that, yeah, so when you use these tools, there's no over-reliance on one particular tool. So when I say a great assistant, there's actually a myriad of tools that I try and use at the same time, or counter check and see before I then I go back and verify in other ways. Yeah, there's always that.
Absolutely.
Verification is very, very important.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like me myself, for research, I use multiple platforms for research itself. I use DeepSeek, and a little bit of in helping and me skeleton my stories, especially the long forms that I've been working on. I use Claude because they give you like some sort of like different drafts, like 4 drafts. I mean, that's amazing. like for me to be able to see all those drafts is just brilliant. I feel like, yeah, like you mentioned just now, it has been a great system for me. All right. I just would like to remind the audience, if you have any questions towards our lovely panelists right here, please do send it via YouTube comments, and so we can pick it up and ask our panelists for today. And moving on to the next question. So what are the biggest risks of using AI in investigative journalism? What do you think, really? What's the biggest risk that you think that using AI in investigative journalism? I'm sorry, really. I think your mic is off.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Sorry for this. I mean, like, well, this is just basically from my experience covering sensitive issues in Indonesia and abroad, because and I think they are like 4 biggest risks in every newsrooms that we really have to manage in terms of using AI in investigative journalism. You know, like the first one will be like said earlier, hallucinations and false facts. You know, like AI often sounds very confident, you know, like in telling stories, you know, like and showcasing the data, you know, like, but and also AI can like invent names, you know, like dates or laws that do not exist, and that's really tricky, you know, like to really you know, like trust AI about that, you know, like, because one wrong detail, it can destroy years of work or ruin, you know, like your source of life. I mean, like that's really tricky one. So that's really have to pay attention on that. And the second one would be like loss of context, you know, like in my experience, you know, like AI looks for patterns, you know, like, but it doesn't understand about behaviors, gestures, you know, like politics, cultures, and, you know, like local histories kind of things. It might connect to things logically, but completely miss that the real story behind, you know, like the story that we are trying to develop about that. And the third one would be like Vino already said about that, is like over reliance and laziness, because we really like engage to AI, like we're really addictive to AI, because the biggest danger in journalism is when we stop thinking critically and just trust the machine, like, because when you stop questioning, like about things happens, then you stop being a journalist. And maybe the last one will be like security and privacy risks. That's really important, because in CNN, privacy and security is really, really, really important, because in investigative work deals, we work with really, really sensitive data. Like by using public AI tools means that you might be feeding confidential informations or source of details into a system that is not secure, and that is direct threat, like to us as a journalist and to our safety in our work field. And that's really the key. I mean, like we have to really concern about that, like false facts, like loss of context, the laziness that really addictive to using AI, and also the privacy risk. Because in Indonesia and Indonesia, like the sources has to be precise, even though the story very dignified sources. If we cannot get it and we just like, oh, I get it on the AI, and that's end of your story. Like the board meetings, the editor meeting will be just, okay, stop your stories. That's not the excuse. So that's it.
Thank you, Rudy. I feel like that is very quotable from, which is the biggest danger in journalism when we stop thinking critically. I feel like that came up of straight up from grave of Mark Twain or something, and it's just great. I mean, I feel like it came straight out from the godfather of journalism himself. It's just yeah. I think when we stop relying on humans, especially when it comes to covering culture stories, a lot of things are missed, or even get lost in translation. I feel like Vino, you have faced this because you covered environmental. You must have met orang asli, and some of these stories are important for, especially anecdotal inputs. And you yourself, Farah, I feel like you have encountered all these kinds of inputs, especially when it comes to interviews, on the ground coverage. It's really important for us to have the ability to think for ourselves and not just rely on these new technologies. And again, Farah, do you think that AI is reducing the need for experienced journalists like yourself? Do you think that AI is taking some roles, some minor roles, as an experienced journalist?
Okay, before we get into the technical use of AI that we've heard so much today, I'd like to go back to Vinothaa. What was, okay, before you decide, you plan out your story, how you're going to use AI to assist you in which area, what was the trigger to your story? How did you come across the story idea? You established your hypothesis from what? What was the trigger point? Yeah, audio.
So you mean before I started the investigation?
Yeah. How did you come across that story idea?
Most of it is, the story idea comes from having already gone to the ground or having already come across something, and then come back and do some desk research and trying to understand why something happened or why is something happening at the moment. And then I realize, or sometimes like the Red River story, I went to the ground and I realized if the river was red in the year 2012 and the river is still red in 2024, something's wrong somewhere, So that's when I started I decided that was my, yeah. And then
So you see that is why experience helps. Being a real journalist, the thinking of a journalist helps, because a great award-winning story could be staring at you in the face, but if you're not trained as a journalist, you don't see it as a story. It's as simple as that. So Vinothaa saw what was happening, and she established a hypothesis that something could be wrong here, and she has to prove her hypothesis. That's when all these AI tools, all the legwork came. You see, an analogy, a very vast ocean, and there's a drop of yellow colored oil. You use your AI. I need to find the oil. AI will guide you there. Okay, that's where it is. It's somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, right smack in the middle. But you as a journalist, all these questions, as a trained, experienced journalist, you ask Aizat, is AI going to take over the role of experienced journalist? No, because journalists will be able to ask all this. You learn in school 5 Ws and 1 H. That makes a story complete. Why, how it got there, why it was there in the first place, what was the medium that brought it to the middle of the ocean, how could anybody allow it to happen? So these questions will come from established journalists. You have to be able to foresee, envision what the end could possibly be with the use of AI. But sometimes, like Ruli said, it will lead you to a dead end. You cannot beat a dead horse into life. Sometimes it has to go. But when you are trained enough, at the very beginning, that story will lead you somewhere. In case of Vinothaa, I'm sure in your next projects, it's not going to be a waste of time. You spend 3 weeks, you cannot establish your hypothesis. What's the point? At the end of the day, we're running with limited resources. So experienced journalists will know how to maneuver their way to land great stories. But of course, I would put AI, the role of AI as this teammate, super researcher that will allow us to do something more meaningful, the kind of meaning that AI cannot do for us. We pick our battles. For instance, when newsrooms need consistencies, at 9 o'clock, we need a newsreader. I'm talking about our print titles, our newsreader to sum up the news summary from last night. At 9 o'clock, it has to air. It has to be prepared at 8 o'clock. Yesterday's news, just give it a fresh breath of take. And then for business, you need to do the morning brief, the midday brief, and the evening brief. I cannot rely 100% on my charges that person will be there on the dot at 8 o'clock, to do the live reporting in our studios. When you run a product, when you launch a product, you need to guarantee to our audience the consistency. To a certain level, probably for a 1-year project, how do we ensure this? We go to AI lah. You do the input has to be accurate. The front end is the AI presenter that we have, but the input is still manual. It's from our editors, looking at the doing the output verification for AI to present. So it's actually a symbiotic relationship between AI and senior experienced journalists. Let's not even talk about senior journalists. I'm sure a lot of most of our newsrooms, we have a lot of Gen Zs. And in a few years' time, we're going to have this alpha generation, coming into newsrooms. It's about understanding what you can bring to the table. I'm hoping I don't sound ruthless lah, but you see an experienced journalist who's been around for 15 years and a young journalist, well-trained from UiTM, who can do a job equally well. Experience meaning what? You've clocked in 15 years, but can I rely on you to go out there, find me a front page story, a story that will create a major discourse in the industry, can you lend me that? Or can I expect first year journalists to do that and give me more? If I have to downsize, who do you think I'm gonna keep? Right? I mean, that's the reality now. You see everyone is shrinking, but you have, if you can bring to the table something that I just cannot do without, you're relevant. It's not about experience in the sense of years. When I talk to young journalists, I tell them, start now. You are in your first year. Try to come up with content that when you come in for the interview, right after your internship, you can show me your products. This is what I did with Claude. This is what I did with, whatever AI tools that you use. And this is, you give me here during the interview, and I can use it tomorrow, with a little verification from our readers or from our online editors. This is good to go. You'll be so valuable because you know how to include AI in your daily operations. And it's not just you come in an interview, okay, this is a press release, please process this, those days are gone. Because we know, we give you a press release, you go out there, in 3 minutes you can come back, without even understanding what the press release is, and it's done for you. But journalism is getting more and more sophisticated. Aizat, we don't even send reporters to the ground for press conferences. Those days, even a year back, press conference are everything. Press conferences, Ruli, for your information, the Prime Minister's press conference. In your case, the President's press conference. I'm sure CNN would send a team, right, to cover. But now we don't have to. Because why? PM gives a live PC. Every one of his press conference, he would have a live press conference, and our editors can do the story from there. So you cut off 3 layers: a reporter, sub-editor, and editor. So now we have our editor doing the story, publishing the story, and that's it. So what else can you bring to the table? Do we still need you? You have the AI skills, and you can multiply PM's PC. The editor has done it, very simplistic because he has other things to do as well. But if you are there, you can come up with, a host of other content for our audience, our readers. So that's the future that we are. Okay, it's not even the future; it's the now of journalism. Thank you.
Sharin hilang.
Itulah, hilang. Break tadi lah 5 minit, dah habis.
But that's true, Farah. I mean, like nowadays, like the president, the ministries, like they have their own YouTube channels, and we just like cut from them, right?
Yeah, because this question we get asked from students all the time is that will there be a job? Will there be a position for me when I graduate? You have to ask that question yourself. You have to ask yourself, when I go for the interview, what can I tell them that I can offer? Your degree, you are a 4 flat student, Dean's List student every year. It doesn't matter to the newsroom. It's the output. Because journalism is a very technical industry, right? It's very it's not a professional industry. It's about the know-how. It's about landing the story. That's it. It's less theoretical than we think it is.
Yeah, like nowadays, the young journalists, we challenge them to make like in-depth report instead just like like the situation on your like in front of you.
And it's also factual. Whatever LLMs are putting out there or scraping from are the facts that we put out. So we are actually putting out the facts, and large language models are the ones taking, they're just language, right? So they're taking. So our role is still very important because we are actually turning out all the facts. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, sometimes we just need like reporters to be on, like that conference press because we need them to ask questions, like on those matters, right? So we really need them on that. So yeah.
And when that is not hope and they don't ask question, where does that leave them? their role as a journalist. So you have to keep asking questions so you remain relevant. That is one of the few things that AI cannot do. Ask questions at real events, ongoing events.
Absolutely, I agree with you guys. I'm sorry for the technical difficulty that I faced just now. Probably AI. So, yeah, I agree with all of you. I think that this is it's a bit of a follow-up question for especially for journalists. Um, I think last year in Philippines, I represented Malaysia in terms of I represented Malaysia and Garam as as a journalist, asking questions whether how the industry has been doing. And my in one of my slides, I mentioned I quoted a New York Times journalist, where he said that sometimes we have the minute we compromise on business, when it comes to businesses, that's the minute we compromise on truth. Well, we started to report half truths, but that quote was like 40 or 50 years ago. So nowadays we have AI as sort of looked at as sort of like an enemy, a teammate. We're kind of confused in terms of that. So Farah, how do you because you said that you're not going to be ruthless and in terms of punishing all these journalists, um, especially in this era of to produce contents fast enough. And how do you determine whether experience being used in the industry? So how do you maneuver all these things, like as an editor in chief? How do you maneuver, as how do you determine whether it's it's good? How do you sort of like guide your journalists? How do I say? How do you guide your journalists on how on using AI at certain times, probably, um, as long as it doesn't replace you as a journalist. Like for Ruli, for said example, um, it's important to be at press conferences, especially when it comes to asking questions. How do you guide your journalists?
I think it's, let's see, 70-30. It starts with you as a journalist first. You establishing the story, you thinking, knowing how to go about landing the story. You have everything packed down. You can envision the end, and then AI comes in. It doesn't replace your research. I mean, it replaces the way you do research. But your input into the research comes from you having been trained as a journalist to ask the right questions for many, many years. I'm sure, when we do research, right, this hallucination, you thinking that AI knows everything because, it can, glean data from the world over, from all open sources. How could it be wrong? Have you ever experienced, you ask yourself, when you question, but it doesn't seem to be that way because XXX, the response you get is, you are right. So it's open for discussion. So how can you rely on AI ever, to tell you, to get you thinking that this is it, this must be right? It just plays this supporting research. It's a research assistant. Okay, I take it back. I don't call it a super researcher. No, it's a research assistant. Because when you do a research, when your professors conduct research, they're already professors. When they conduct research, they have a research assistant. When the research assistant brings up something, I think this is it. That professor will be able to tell him, no, this is not right. Or even question. The assistant could prove later that this is right, but not before that, back and forth questioning. That is what AI and warm bodies are like, that relationship. Apa your other half of your question tadi?
Uh, um, in terms of I know our industry is struggling right now, right? A lot of news, organizations cutting budgets, cutting their headcounts, and some of some of the like AFP, Reuters, all these big names are replacing their researchers with AI. So it's a worrying situation for me. Like for you as an editor in chief, do you do you share the same sentiments with all these big firms, big news organizations? It's scary for me.
Okay.
And for all, it's a scary future to look at.
Okay. For the Malaysian media industry, okay, CNN is different because you're like 100% news, right? And you put out human interest stories. But many of us, if you look at, we are guided by this thing called ComScore, right? This is what advertisers used to. They look at who ranks number one. How do you get ranked in the top 10 of the charts, of the media charts? It's based on unique visits, page views. But what are the stories that get these page views? Because at the end of the day, it spells dollars, right? These are stories with little meaning. You know how somebody just won a 14 million jackpot. That story is number one on the charts for a whole day 2 days ago, right? Because people want to read that. But quality journalism that allows us to continue doing and make it easier a little bit for us to do with the help of AI will ensure the stature of media houses, of journalism, will keep us relevant. And then how do you get to the basics part of things? Because, you know, the basics of things will ensure a strong foundation in whatever it is that you're doing. In this case, in journalism, your editors must be super journalists. Your editors must know news for them to be able to bring in these young journalists who are already well versed with AI, not as well as the super senior editors, but it's about the gelling of these two minds. Okay, this is how you go about it. What's the story that you have today? Okay, how exposed are Malaysian children under 16 to porn on social media? How is the Australian experience, the failed Australian experience in regulating those under 16, under 13? We are going that direction. What are the mechanisms that you're going to put in place to ensure that it works well for Malaysia? So this is the editor guiding the reporter where to go. You talk to you know, somebody who handles juvenile cases. How influenced were they on social media that they ended up raping somebody? You know, you can talk to children, you talk to lawyers, and your editor will be able to help the young reporter with AI skills to say, you cannot interview young children. You cannot even go near their school. So who do you go speak to? You speak to lawyers. You go to safer grounds. I want to talk about how Selangor is going to die of Selangorians are going to die of thirst in the next 5 years because the reservoir, the water level has dipped to below dangerous levels. I am going there, boss, to measure the depth of the reservoir. Your editor, because of his experience, will tell him, you go to a restricted area and do that, you will end up in jail, 14 years jail. AI won't be able to tell you because you will not be able to ask AI the right question. You will not be able to think about asking AI, will I be going against the law if I go to this reservoir to measure the water level? No. Probably AI will tell you if you ask that question. But this is very specific Malaysian law, which very few people know. Whether or not, you know, it's in the open source, open sphere. So that's why that kind of energy, that kind of system, a strong system, has to be in place. And it's not just about how do you use it, what AI should we use. We subscribe to specific AI tools so that our content are not out there for everyone to steal. We subscribe to, for Media Prima, we subscribe to Gemini Pro, to Gemini Plus, so that our content is protected when we are in the midst of doing things. Right? So these are the things, a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. It's not just about AI. It's not just about AI. It's about the supporting role of how AI is to serve as a supporting role to these other more important elements of journalism, of a newsroom.
All right. Thank you. Can you hear me? Oh yeah. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah. Moving on to my next question. So anyone can chime in on this. We probably have a short window for each of you. Should AI or ever be allowed to write investigative story, and also should transparency about AI to be used as mandatory? So we can start with Vino, and we go to Ruli, and then Farah, of course.
Sorry, what was your question? Should AI be used to write investigative stories? What was your
Okay,
question?
so the question is the question is, should AI ever be allowed to write investigative stories, and should transparency about AI used to be mandatory for anyone in the industry to use it? We can start with Vino,
Yeah.
and then Ruli, and then Farah.
So the answer is no. AI should not be used to write the story, because investigative stories, there's a lot of human interest in the story. So without the human interest stories that come out in an investigative issue, you cannot portray what the real issue is. And that only, a journalist can do that. And AI is not able to do that. So, and these are things that you pick up on the ground when you're standing there speaking to the person. It can actually become the lead in your story. If he's standing there and he's perspiring and he's crying, and why he's crying is what then you bring it into the story. AI is not able to do that. Whether we should be transparent, yes, we should be transparent, especially if you're using videos, and like what Ruli was saying just now in his explainer, it stated clearly that it's AI generated video, AI generated image. I think it's very, very important when we put images out there, especially if you're a media news company. We have to state that it's AI generated. And if we're using a voiceover that is AI generated, then we have to state this read by AI voiceover tool or something like that. But it has, I'm not sure if Malaysia has has addressed the entirety of this particular transparency and the guidelines, but I think we have to be responsible, because we journalists and news companies, news media outlets are the ones who are actually putting out facts. And if we're introducing an AI generated, anything that's AI generated into something that is factual, we have to state it clearly. That's all.
Thank you. What about you, Ruli? Do you think that AI ever be allowed to write an investigative story?
Well, I believe the answer is no, just like Fino said before, because like I said, there's like in my opinion, there are four biggest problems in terms of using AI for the investigative journalism, because we need things, like that really matters in making stories about investigative matters of issues. Uh, let's say in Indonesia, well, we follow the verification system based on CNN academies. Like we have this human in the loop principle. Like nothing from the AI is ever accepted as a fact. It is treated only as a clue. Like we have really cross-checking about things that we got from the AI, and that's really matters. Like because cross-check with multiple sources, that's really important because sometimes AI will will say is when we're going to do some research kind of things. AI will say that we are research through the AI, and the AI will say this person is connected to like some kind of company, and things that cross in our mind as a journalist, investigative journalist, that should we believe about this kind of like AI that already mentioned all that, and we really have to check the documents, we really have to interview the sources, we have to compare the data, and we really have to set that manually. And about field validation is also important, which is AI is quite difficult to do that, and this is actually this might be my strongest rules, like in terms of using AI, because if AI gives me an analysis, I take that analysis, like that insight into the field, like I go to locations and then like meet the people involved on that matters, on that issues, and I really confirm about that. Does it really match the reality on the grounds? Because in my, like years of work, reality is always in the final editor, like, and it is us as a journalist. And and things that really matters right now in using AI to make scripts or like effective products. Uh, like if you're using AI, like the AI assisted report or scripts will goes to the senior editor first. Like who knows nothing about we are using AI or not. They only judge the evidence that they found and the story that we made. Like through AI, or we are doing it ourselves. If the story doesn't make any sense to the human mind, or the evidence is weak, then it's just totally rejected. And for me, AI is just the start, like of the work. Like the real investigations begins after the AI gives us, like the result, and after that, it's our job, to make sure everything is on the line.
Thank you so much, really. And I think my specific question for you, Farah, should transparency, especially being on the board of Malaysian Media Council, I'm sure you have something cooking in there. So, should transparency about AI use be mandatory? And also, can you break down a bit on what kind of transparency do we need? Do we need to tell, okay, every time we send a draft, for example, this story has been assisted by writing. Do we have to actually do that as a journalist, probably as an editor yourself as well? What kind of transparency that we need in the industry right now, especially in terms of AI?
Okay, for now, and I think it's forever going to be that way. We see a story that is 100% written by AI, we will can it. One is to help you keep your job, and the other is for credibility of the media house. You use AI, as we have established many times at any media conference, that is a tool to help you do research, not to write your story. Because even for investigative journalism, right, you always get the essence of the story from the ground. You hear this person talking to you about this hardship that they've been going through, rags to riches story, and you capture the emotions, you jot it down. You know exactly how you're going to translate that into words, into the perfect visuals. You feed it to AI to help you do that. It can never be the same. It can never be better than your own journalists trained to write those kind of stories that they produce. So, no, AI cannot write for us. the final output. For the government is mulling the idea of coming up with Alta AI. You know, they're still discussing what to govern. At the end of the day, it's not a problem if we are just careful. You know, some of the problems that actually triggered this talk about the need to have AI Act is, you know, the flag issue, because you rely too much on AI and you get lazy. You know, you have your front page design. Okay, everything looks good. My former editors, the chief sub, used to have what do you call that? Not microscope, not that's what's that thing? Magnifying glass.
Magnifying glass.
You know, a magnifying glass to look at every word, to look at every punctuation to see whether it's right. I don't see that anymore. So because I don't see it anymore, I always look at every single page that comes out in all the 3 papers, because for online you can make changes, right? But this, you do or die. You know, you have to get it right the first time. Yesterday, that's a good example. I had to approve the front page of Harian Metro. Okay, so this was the front page, right? Of this point. My only question was, why didn't you mark it as AI generated? I told you guys, you know, so many times. I thought it's understood. But you know, all this while it's been great lah. Sometimes Business Times use a picture of a ship, and you know, during this whole crude oil price issue, they use AI and AI generated. I'm not too happy about it. But since we had to rely on foreign syndicated agencies to provide us with that, and they don't, we have to do that. And that's problem too. So the support from agencies that are supposed to support journalism that we pay for are not doing enough to give us the kind of visuals that we want. But I was happy when the editor told me, the group editor told me, this is actually our own picture. So I was very happy. Oh, great, wonderful picture. Because now you understand that since we are governed by so many laws, including Online Child Safety Act, the Child Act, we cannot use pictures of children celebrating or mourning the death of their father because you identify the parents. So go back to basics, had the meeting with the photographers. You guys have to build a stockpile of photos that we can just pull and use. If I need to take a picture of children playing football in a field that will likely that's unsafe, right? I need a picture of exactly that. It doesn't have to be a picture for that day. We can just use file picture, but pictures, they tell the story too, right? So go back to basics. Make sure you have all these pictures. Make sure you observe all laws. Can you imagine how, when readers, our audience, look at a news piece and they see AI generated? We have, you know, on one hand, we have to mark it as AI generated, and then you lose credibility. What is it? What is this? You know, a big media house and you're using AI generated, this is lazy work. There goes the credibility of journalism. There goes the credibility of that media house. I cannot have Metro having AI generated. We have, you know, tens of photographers and you can't even get me a simple picture. So we have to be ready and understand what is okay for AI and what is not.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your contribution in our second session. It's been lovely. We even have a moment where Farah took over my responsibility as a moderator.
I'm curious because Vino is doing such great work.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that statement. I feel like Vino and Ruli have contributed so much in our Vino especially has contributed so much in our industry and with her stories. And yeah, there goes our second session. Every insight from you guys, greatly appreciated. And moving on to the next session, we have a few questions from our audience, our lovely audience today. And first, I would like to thank Budi Luhur for staying with us for the last couple hours. It has been great to have you guys on this platform, and We have currently running 1.1 k views on YouTube. The numbers has been brilliant. So Farah, about the probably the one that the government is mulling all these AI. Probably some of the journalists that are watching right now probably can quote you from your statement probably on regulating AI. And okay, moving on to the
Just go in. You can go on AI. Where is the government at there? See, journalists must read. They must know what's happening
All right.
every day.
So listen, everyone. What Farah just said just now. So we have three questions from the audience. So any of you can chime in on this. So what skill? The first question is from Amni Harid 7852. What skill should journalism focus on in an AI-driven newsroom? So and the setting is an AI-driven newsroom. So what skill should journalists nowadays, especially those who joining in the industry, what skills should they develop to focus on in AI-driven newsroom? Rudy, we can start with you.
Okay, skill first, you have to know how to research because like using AI, like the keywords, like links, like things like that, like to put on your AI platform is to make like the AI works and like you want to be. And the second one is the skill that really must have, like as journalism in terms of using AI is you must have this curiosity into the max level. Like you're not just like believe and rely and addictive to the AI. You have to have that curiosity level is very high because things happen in the AI. You're not supposed to be believing just right away. Maybe that's it.
Right. Well, what about you, Vino? As an experienced investigative journalist, what skills should those who are interested in joining in the industry should develop, especially in an AI-driven newsroom? What do you think?
I think skills wise, I had a brief chat with the team that's actually organizing this program yesterday, and I just had I just quickly asked them, what tools are you familiar with? What tools are you using? Already all of them already know about LLM, LM, Notebook LM. So tools are there, and tools are evolving, they're growing. There will be new tools. There'll be, we haven't even started talking about open source AI, that you can start building in your own newsrooms. So tools will always be there. I think the younger generation are very familiar and they can very quickly adapt to tools, the AI tools. I think what's really needed right now is the human touch. So for example, if I went on the ground with someone with me, someone from the younger generation, would they know, like sort of like what Farah said just now, would you know that you cannot approach or take pictures of children without parents' consent? Do you know that you cannot interview an underage person without any consent, or and you have to actually speak to the parents? Do you know? So what I think is you need to go and volunteer, join NGOs, go to grassroots organizations, work on the ground and experience. So when you come back as, when you join the workforce as a journalist, and for example, migration is a big issue in everywhere, and Malaysia is where all the migrants are actually coming. We import 15 migration workers from 15 countries. So you can, work with NGOs that are working with migrants to understand what they're actually experiencing on the ground. I was actually at a press conference a couple of years ago when the minister actually turned around and asked me, do you know have you seen the workers? Have you met the workers? Do you know them? I said, yes, Dato Sri, I can give you the name list if you want. And yes, I went to the ground. So journalists really need to be ready to go on the ground, need to be ready. That is because you are constantly being challenged. He challenged me at the press conference when I was asking him a question. So when you're on the ground and you're looking at a bunch of a group of migrants, and what do you ask them when they're all disgruntled? What do you ask them? So this is where if you're put out there alone, what do you do? Yes, you're excited, you want to go down, you want to go down the ground. I'm going to go and look, and probably going to get a big story. But what do you ask them when they don't want to speak to you, when nobody wants to speak to you? How do you coax them, especially in a different language? So these are things, working with women's groups, trying understanding indigenous people, work. I think this is the gap that's coming into the workforce with the younger generation. They need to go to the grassroots. They need to go and understand actually what's actually happening. You can come in as a journalist, but if you want to come in prepared, come in, start now, go. If you're very attached to environment, maybe when you start as a journalist, you probably won't be able to do, you won't be able to have your own beat. Back then, we used to have beats. There's no such thing as beats right now. So if you want to investigate an environmental issue, but when you start, you have very little chance to do an investigative piece. But when you know some kind of background, some kind of basic on an environmental issue, and even if a press statement comes in, like what Farah was saying just now, you look at it differently immediately. And that is what is your plus point. That is what you can offer, that extra, that what's going on, that what, when you get a press statement, you know exactly what you're talking about. You know how to pick it out from the fourth or fifth para as your lead story, as your lead for your story. Yeah. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Vino. Probably moving on to the next question. From Nur Aina Shazwani 8032. Can AI truly function as a neutral tool in investigative journalism, or does it inevitably reflect the biases embedded within its training data and developers? This is a great question, actually. Coming from certain platforms, probably the origin of those platforms, so DeepSeek from China, Gemini from US, ChatGPT from US. So they have some sort of certain biases in their own data inputs. So how can they use these AI tools, whether they can function as a neutral tool in investigating? Chime in on this.
Okay. You have to stop looking at AI tools as a search engine. It's not Google, because you are thinking about asking questions to suit your story. That is not it. That is not the AI that we're talking about. We're talking about you bringing home the bacon and using the AI tool to see what is the best cooking method that you may need. Because it still goes back to the ground. You have to do your research. It's all about legwork. If you can remove the thinking that is Google, AI is just a better version of Google, it makes it easier, because you ask Google, it will not give you as much as your ChatGPT would give you. But that is not it, because journalism is about originality. You bring your data actually into AI. So you have to be the source if you want to be relevant, right? Like Vino said, how to go about the story, how to wear your thinking cap right as a journalist. Have built on this skills that you have, it never crossed your mind that you will need when you enter into the industry. Your fearlessness. Benda yang theoretical doesn't mean much because it means everything. Your nose for news, you hear this, right? Nose for news, right to reply. Because when you are in the industry, everything comes into play. Now, for journalists, until 2 years back, you guys, the buzzword was mojo, right? Everybody needs to be a mojo. Now it's mojo 3 point plus, because the plus is about AI. Mojo now means everything. You do everything. You do everything. Your editor will be just the last person to sweep it through. Do you have that? Can you develop those skills? This is assuming that you have all the other elements, your basics of journalism ready, strengthened to the max, and that you know how to ask the right question. You know how to go about squeezing your orange dry until you cannot squeeze anymore. So your stories are all covered. You have your hypothesis proven, you have your closure, you make an impact with your story. And then there's also some might say the superficial side of the industry. I see journalists, I see a lot of undergraduates, right? They are very timid. They're very timid. How do you expect them to ask questions when in a room? I was just I think some of our students here may have been at Hawana. I was one of the speakers. So it was a whole section of communication students from various universities. How many of you guys want to be journalists? Only 2. Raise their hands. There were I think about 100, only 2. Okay, I can understand because you don't understand journalism. So you went to university to get a degree, you're in communication school. So probably you want to be PR. Probably you want to be communicators. But do they know that it's very closely linked? Then, okay, those 2, you want to be a journalist, right? That's the superficial part. Can you stand up before a minister and the minister tries to intimidate you and you can answer because you know your stuff? You know what you're talking about. We journalists, when we ask questions, you cannot, bullshit us because we know the subject matter like the back of our hand. So you have to have that gung-ho-ness to say, don't bullshit me. You're not answering my question. Of course, we do it very politely lah. Dr. Sri, I'm just asking a question. You see how Trump tries to intimidate the White House correspondents every day. You see how they stand up, right? They just ask away. You want to call me stupid? You want to call me fat? I just ask. This is my job. Can you be that? And then, okay, this is the superficial part. Be presentable. You have journalists who don't look the part. You want to be taken seriously as a journalist. Look at Vino, look at Ruli, look at Aizat. When you go there, they know that they're speaking to an authority. You do not want to be seen as somebody who just came out from university and not prepared for the actual job market. Okay. And then prepare
Thank
yourself.
you so much, Farah. Yeah, okay.
One very important thing, if you want to prepare yourself, just one the basic thing, learn, just read. If you don't read, you cannot be in this industry. Learn to hone your writing skills. Journalism is about writing. It's about understanding, it's about writing. If you cannot write, find another job. Jangan masuk the industry. You are doing the industry injustice.
All right, Nur Aina Shazwani 8032 did this. Did you? Were you listening to Farah just now? It's an incredible advice from you, Farah. Especially with my experience working with you. You have been such an inspiring journalist. And my last question would be from Tsunade. It's a character from Naruto, if you guys don't know that. Tsunade said that should journalism students be encouraged to learn and use AI too, or should universities continue prioritizing traditional journalism methods? If not, how will young journalists adapt to AI integrated newsroom in the future? Really, and Vino, probably you have something something to opine on this. It's an interesting sort of an academia perspective. Should we continue on focusing on traditional journalism methods, or If not, how will these young journalists adapt to AI integrated newsroom in the future? We can start with you, Vino.
Hi, thanks. Thanks, Sharon. I think we've gone over this over and over again, but yes, definitely, traditional journalism methods are so very important because end of the day, we are talking about the realities of life. We're talking about real life situations. We're talking nothing that can actually replace by AI. It's like Farah was saying just now, kalau menteri cabar, if the minister is going to challenge you at a press conference, you're not going to pick up AI and try and quickly Google and see, oh, can I? No, you have to come back with, and only real life experience can give you that that confidence, the confidence that you're right because you've already experienced it. And yes, you can tell him back politely, yes, this is what I have. You want, I can show it to you later. Or, and it's the same as, knocking on doors and asking strangers. It's the same thing. You still have to have that courage. And traditional journalism is, I mean, you can't be a journalist without being able to do these things because like what Farah and Ruli very aptly have explained clearly that it's just we are the facts, we have the facts, we control the facts, we get the facts. AI is just helping us as assistants. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Vino. And Rudy, do you think that? Yeah, I understand. I understand it has been repeated so many times, but yeah, in terms of our study back in my days, that's not like 20, 30 years ago, but that's just like 10 years ago. It was like a decade ago. We didn't expect that how AI is going to influence for we didn't expect AI is going to influence our industry for the next 5 years. After I finished my study, we did not expect that. But do you think that in our current syllabus, probably Indonesia, in our current syllabus, we should sort of prepare ourselves for new technology coming into the industry? Do you have anything to say on that?
Well, I will say technology may always change, right? But the principle still remains. As long as we work honestly, ethically, and know how to protect ourselves, as a journalist, and we know our ethic code as a journalist, we will always remain the guardians of the truth for the people. And that's what really stick until now. So we cannot deny that technology will always be rapidly changes, like along the ways. But, like core in here, the principle is still remains there. So that's why we really need the basics.
All right, thank you for your response, Rudy. I believe it's short and sweet, but very insightful. From you guys, I think I've learned so much from you guys. I think the audience share the same sentiment. Um, and I would like to recap a bit about the conversation. How all the panelists, I feel like have concluded that AI should not be an enemy, neither the most important teammate, but rather more of a assistance tool in assisting by using our own critical thinking and how we maneuver the stories, how we come up with stories, how we come up with angles, how we structure the stories, and AI comes in between all those processes, in post sorry, in pre, during, and post producing any journalistic contents. I feel like it has been a very insightful 3 hour conversation between the panelists. And I would like to thank the final year student from journalism UiTM Shah, all 28 of them, including Madam Azlina Wati, who was my advisor back in the days, the one that I mentioned 10 years ago. Yeah, she's still here. I love her so much. And after struggle of I think 3 months of preparation, we finally managed to conduct this very good conference for. And I would like to thank the audience. I would like to thank the audience for staying tuned with us. And and again I feel like it's has okay and also just to conclude everything, probably just one last word, probably a 10-second conclusion from each of you. We can start with Farah. Just one last word.
Okay. Hi students. So this industry is going to be as great as you wanna make it great. It's all up to you. Prepare yourselves, equip yourselves with the right tool. Don't expect your lecturers to teach you AI in schools. Like, I agree with Ruli. It's about the principles of AI, because the technology is so fluid that you can ask your broadcasting students, your broadcasting seniors, the camera that they learned for 4 years how to handle, is irrelevant now. So the base is always the basic theories, the basic understanding of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah. What about you, Ruli?
Well, technology is great, but it means nothing if we are not safe enough to publish the truth. Accountability is not just about what we write. It is about how we protect ourselves and our sources until the story is published. To the future journalists here, you must master the technology, use the best storytelling methods, but always remember, truth is valuable and we must protect it safely.
Thank you so much, Ruli. And Vino, you have been lovely this morning. A last word from you. To conclude everything.
I think I definitely agree with Farah. Just read a lot, because that's what's going to give you knowledge on the ground. Reading a lot. But I have to say again that media is the check and balance of the government that is constantly being bullied. That's one thing. But when you're on the ground, you're telling everyone what's actually happening on the ground. So your role as a media, as a journalist, is very, very important. And when you're on the ground, you have to take yourself seriously. And that in itself will give you the confidence to do what you need to do. Everything else that you learn in school, you're going to learn again. And some of it is going to get obsolete. You're going to pick up new tools. Like, we have to pick up new tools as well. And these are tools that are helping us. And when you join a newsroom, the newsroom will guide you. But you have to be able to, you must be brave to embrace, and brave enough to understand how to use and how not to use, what to use, how to give something a priority. And for those who want to subscribe to Malaysiakini students, it's only 39 ringgit for students, but the Bahasa Malaysia version is free. And I wish you all good luck. And it's been great. It's been great to share a panel with people like Farah and Ruli. I've learned so much. I feel like we should have coffee frequently.
Definitely. You've been wonderful. I've learned so much from you, and Ruli too. Amazing things, and then always.
I will come to Kuala Lumpur then.
Please contact me when you come.
We can change
All
numbers.
right. I think we have a bit of a follow up after this. So, do I have to be at your coffee break session to be your moderator again?
No.
All right. So before we end the session, I would like to invite everyone here on Google Meet for a photo session. So it's going to be like a 1 minute screenshot. Is it 1 minute? Is it 1 minute? Okay, yeah, it's going to be a 1 minute screenshot. Everyone, so turn on the camera. Turn on the camera, and we have a photo session together. Do we take selfies? Yeah. Oh.
One, two, three. One.
All right, so that's the end of our session today. Again, I would like to thank you, our panelists, Vinothaa, Ruli, and Farah, for the insightful and meaningful sharing through today's session. And thank you to also all the participants, viewers, all organizing partners, and sponsors for your support and contribution in making this program a success. Before we conclude, do not forget to follow our social media at Newscam 6.0. I repeat, at Newscam 6.0, and kindly complete the feedback form before leaving the session. With that, I'm Shari Naizat, moderator for e-Colloquium UiTM, would like to hand the session back to the MC. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Hello again. So on behalf of the organizing team, we would like to extend our heartfelt appreciation to our incredible panelists, Ms. Vinothaa Sobateri, Mr. Ruli Kurniawan, and Ms. Farnas for sharing their insights and experiences with us. Your time and expertise truly make this session very meaningful, and a big thanks as well to our moderator, Mr. Shahrin Aizat Nosharizam, for guiding today's session very smoothly. And we would also like to express our sincere appreciation to our sponsors, Wet World, Mata by Optometrists, Hijra Water, Pro Aircon Enterprise, and Shirika for their generous support and contribution. Your involvement has added tremendous value to this year's e-Colloquium, and we are really grateful for your commitment in uplifting our student-led initiatives. A special note of gratitude as well to Budi Luhur TV from Budi Luhur Universiti Indonesia for the support extended to us journalism students of Universiti Teknologi MARA. And we truly value this collaboration, and we hope it continues stronger as we work together to drive a more vibrant and progressive media landscape between both countries. And just so you know, the vouchers from Wet World and Mata by Optometrists only apply to Malaysian participants only. And for UiTM students, please be prepared for the QR code later you guys see already. And to all participants, thank you for your active engagement, and your energy has made this e-Colloquium very dynamic, impactful, and truly memorable. So from what I saw, we reached 1.5K viewers. And before we close, we have a very special announcement. Don't forget to stay connected with us through our social media at Newscam 6.0 on Instagram and TikTok. And with that, I am Sarah Norman, officially wrapping up the 53rd Journalism e-Colloquium 2026. And before we officially close today's program, we would like to invite everyone to stay for a special montage presentation prepared by our team. Thank you.